6 is natural logs. These are going to feel really familiar, but still very different, so stick with me. You do need your calculator. I'm going to show you a new button. So make sure you have your calculator handy because I want you plugging these in to make sure you know what you're doing. There is still a calculator portion and a non-calculator portion on your quiz, so just make sure that the things that you need to be able to do by hand, you can do by hand. Well, yes and no, because it's new material, right? But kind of the same idea, yes. Okay, natural logs. They're still just logs, okay? But now your base is different, okay? When you see this, right? Not that. When you see this, right? Your base is a 10. This number down here is a 10, okay? When you see this, your base is a 3. Well, now, when you see this, okay, it's essentially saying a log of base E. And that E is the same E as PERT, right? E was 2.7, a bunch of numbers. So now, when you see natural log, you're still thinking of it as a log, okay? It's a natural log. It just has a base of E every time. And I think you'll find that actually simplifies life a lot of the time. I'll show you in just a minute. I always write it like this so that it doesn't look like 1 times n. So maybe get in the habit of writing it in cursive just so you know it's not 1 times n, it's the natural log of. But just so you know, when you see this, I'm saying the natural log, this ln, okay? Okay, so something to consider here. We know that this, right, log base 2 of 2 equals 1. Remember, we would say 2 to the first power equals 2, right? 2 to the first power equals 2. So whenever we say the natural log of E, you need to remember that's just equal to 1. Basically, we're saying log base E of E. So E to what power will equal E? It's going to be 1, okay? Here's what Ms. Price told me when I first started teaching this. She calls this guy Little Lenny, right? Because that kind of looks like Lenny, L-N-E, Lenny. He's only 1 year old. He's just a little guy, right? So whenever you see Lenny, think the number 1, okay? And you're going to see Lenny a lot today. So look for little Lenny. He's only a year old. Okay, so let's take a look at this. We're going to evaluate. Remember, whenever it says evaluate, your answer should be a number, right? You're coming up with a number answer when it says to evaluate something. There are 2 ways that you can do this. The way we say it, if you're wondering how this goes, you're just saying the natural, not natural, the natural log of E cubed, okay, is how you say that. The natural log of E cubed. We're trying to figure out what is the natural log of E cubed. So 2 ways you could do this. If you're going to do it using properties, okay, our properties tell us we can move that 3 out in front. So 3 times the natural log of E. And we just said little Lenny is how old?
1.
He's 1. So 3 times 1 equals 3. Okay, so if you're going to do it using the properties, that's what you would do. If you would rather do it with exponents, then you would set this up. Remember, there's this E down here. You would say E to what power equals E to the 3rd power. Okay, I don't care which one you do. Sometimes one is going to feel easier than the other. Do the one that makes more sense to you. Okay, but either way, we get that something is 3. Okay, E to the 3rd power equals E to the 3rd power. Questions on that? Yeah. Yeah. Can you leave your phone here? You did. Thank you. Okay, so 12 times the natural log of e squared. I would, on this, take that exponent and move it out in front. I like the properties better majority of the time. That's up to you, how you want to think of it. But I typically do the property version. So 2 times 12 times the natural log of e. Well, there's our buddy Lenny, right? So that's 1. 2 times 12 is 24. So 24 times 1 equals 24. Is that making sense? All right, go back up to letter C over here. Can I move on? Are you good there?
Wait, so you just did 2 times 12 and then...
So the 12 is here, right? If we move this out in front, I mean, technically we're moving it right in front of the natural log. It doesn't matter because you can multiply in either order, right? So I'm moving that 2 to the 2. So it's basically like saying 12 times 2 times the natural log of e, right? So 12 times 2 is 24. The natural log of e is 1. 24 times 1 is 24. Jada. The next one? Go for it. 2 times 1. Yep. Natural log of e is 1. So 2 times 1 divided by 7 is... Yeah, don't round if you don't need to. It's just 2/7, right? You can just leave it as 2/7 there. Leave it as the fraction because that's an exact answer. The decimal is a rounded answer, and we'd always prefer exact if we can have exact. Okay, this one. This is basically saying if you want to think of exponents here, e to what power equals 5? Nobody knows that because e is a funky number, right? So when it's something like this, you're literally just going to plug it into your calculator. So look at your calculator. Do you see your natural log button? You've been using it. You've just been using it as a second. That e to the x that you've been using, that's your natural log button. So hit ln and then 5, enter, and what do you get? We'll go 4 decimal places. 1.6094. Okay, so that one's just plug it into your calculator. On a problem like that, you would get to use your calculator, yeah. The other ones, you won't get to use your calculator. But letter D, you would get to use your calculator. Okay, example 2. So we're going to rewrite this as a single log. And this should feel really familiar. It's the exact same process as when the word log is there. Now it's just the natural log. And oftentimes, well, yeah, it's going to feel very familiar, okay? If I'm going to turn this into a single log, so the natural log of, what is this going to do? That's division. Okay, so we know we're dividing. What else do you have to do here? What? You got to move some stuff around.
Do you combine them?
We're going to start by making the 2 our exponent. Okay, so this is going to be 3 squared. You can just write that as 9 right off the bat if you want. Divided by 10. So simplest version of this is the natural log of 9 over 10. It's exactly the same, right? You've done this. It's just an ln instead of an log, but it's the exact same process. Okay, look at letter B. How do you write that as a single log? So the natural log of what? X to the 3rd divided by y squared. And that's as simple as you can go with it because there's no numbers that we can cube or square. So you just leave your answer right like that. Okay? All right, letter C. This one's got a little more going on, but very doable. What are these additions going to imply? Multiplication. Okay, so this 5 is going to move out front. We're turning it into a single log. So the natural log of m to the 5th times what? p to the third times 10. Okay, now the simplest way to write that, we always put the number out in front. So it's the natural log of 10 m to the fifth p to the third. It's fun, right? Yeah, Isaiah. We always want it in the simplest form. So yeah, put the number out in front.
For like on D, like further up, how do you do that on your calculator?
So that natural log button, the ln, is the button 2 above on. So you just go natural log and then at 5, enter. You don't need to plug an e in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, you're just plugging that in. It's basically saying log base e of 5, which the natural log does for you.
And then for the one we just did, number C, the 10 m to the fifth, that's just like an exponent, right?
The 5 is an exponent.
I mean like it's ln 10 m to the fifth, p to the third. That's an exponent.
No, this is even with the ln. It's not ln to that power. It's ln, the natural log of that number as a number, not as an exponent. Aiden.
Can you go back to B?
Yes. We good?
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on. So now we're going to do, oh, just kidding. We're going to do this one, and then we'll do some natural log equations. When you have to expand the log, now it's like undoing what we just did in those previous problems, right? So we are doing multiplication here, and multiplication is what? Addition. Okay, so we're going to be adding the natural log of 5 plus the natural log of the square root of y. Okay, now we don't want radicals here, so we're going to simplify this. What's another way you can say the square root of y?
Y to the 1.
Y to the 1/2. So the natural log of 5 plus the natural log of y to the 1/2 power. And there's one more thing you can do to simplify this. Move it out in front. Yep, this 1/2 is going to go here. So the natural log of 5 plus 1/2 times the natural log of y, and that is your simplest version.
Wait, why do you not put the 5 in front of the natural log?
You put an exponent out in front, and there is no exponent. I mean, essentially the exponent is a 1, so there is technically that out in front, but you don't need to write that when it's a 1. Yeah. The square root of y can also be written as y to the 1/2 power. So you want to get rid of the radical. So you'll do it y to the 1/2 instead of the square root of y. And then you can move that 1/2 out in front. So whenever you see a square root in these, you want to ditch the square root and make it the 1/2 so that you can move it. And now it's just the number 1/2 out in front, which is a lot nicer than a radical. Okay. Nope. The 5 stays, because the 5 is just like your y, right? The y stayed, the 5 stays. It's just the exponent that you move out in front, and that's not an exponent, that's a base. Okay. Natural log equation. So again, this is just like what we did in the last lesson. It's just that now it's a natural log instead of a log, right? So it's a base of e, but the same idea. So what do we need to do first? What? The regular algebra, yes. We need to isolate, right? We're trying to get it by itself. So we're going to take minus 1, minus 1. So the natural log of 3x equals 4. Okay. Now what do you do? Oh, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Do what? The 3x isn't an exponent, right? You can only move exponents out in front. So if there was an exponent here, you could move that out in front, but there isn't one. Nope, because you're taking the natural log of 3x. What's here? E, right? So you're going to say e to what power? To the fourth power equals 3x. Okay? Now, I wouldn't even plug that into my calculator. I would just say, okay, my next move is to do what? Divide by 3, divide by 3. So I would plug in e to the fourth. Remember where e to the fourth is? That's your natural log button, but the second key. So you're going to go second, and then that button right above on, or 2 above on. So e to the fourth. And then you do need to arrow out of there if you're not going to calculate that. And then divide by 3. So plug that into your calculator. Make sure you're getting this. This should be 18. We'll do 3 decimal places. Thank you, sir. 18.199. Okay.
Second. What did you do after second?
So you're going to go second button, and then the natural log button, because that's where e to the x is. So second natural log, and then 4 to put e to the fourth. Then arrow over so that you get out of that exponent setting. And then you'll do divided by 3.
Can we try the next one?
Yeah, so move over to B, right next to that. Natural log of 5x minus 1. See if you can solve that. Remember, this is your helpful hint. God bless. Amara, did you give me a slip when you came in?
Mm-hmm.
You did? Okay. What'd you get? 1.678. Yeah, so this is an e, right? So e to the second power equals 5x minus 1. If you want to calculate e to the second right now, you can. I typically just plug the whole thing in my calculator. You would have to add 1, right? So e to the second plus 1. Maybe just hit enter there. So we'll go e to the second power plus 1 is 8.389 equals 5x. And then we'll divide by 5. Just leave that number on your screen. You don't need to retype in that number. Just use what is there. Divide by 5. So x comes out to 1.678. Okay, and if you're struggling to get my answer, I'll come chat with you once we're done and just make sure you got it. Yeah, leave your phone, please. Okay, this one over here, letter C. What do you do first? You got to get rid of the 2, isolate, right? So divide by 2. So it's the natural log of 8x equals 1/2. And then how do you set that up? E to the 1/2 power equals 8x, okay? So plug in e to the 1/2, second e to the 1/2 power is this number. Again, you don't have to write this down for me. It's just, if it's more comfortable for you, that's fine. And then divide by 8. So that number divided by 8, and you get x equals 0.206. What did we do? 3 decimal places? Yeah. 0.206 for that. Questions on those? Is it feeling familiar, hopefully? Okay, exponential equations with a base of e. You're going to take the log of both sides. So these ones, you just got to make sure, just like we did with the normal logs, right? We took the log of both sides. Now you're going to take the natural log of both sides. So you have a base of e. That's your like trigger, take the natural log. So with this, we're going to say the natural log of e to the x equals the natural log of 3. Okay, what do you do next? Put that x out in front. So it's x times the natural log of e equals the natural log of 3. Who do you see?
Lenny.
Little Lenny. He's right here. So x times 1, right, is just x. So all you're doing is plugging the natural log of 3 into your calculator, okay? So plug that in, natural log of 3, and you get 1.099. Okay. Why don't you try, do C. Just go down. Do letter C here. See if you can figure that one out. Yeah. No, because you have your base to the power. You just move the power out in front. Because E is a number right now, right? But we treat it like a variable a little bit. But it's just like saying if I had 2 to the x equals 3, I would say the log of both sides, and I would move that x out in front, right? X log 2. Same thing here. I move the log out in front, or the x out in front, but now it's a natural log, so Lenny shows up. Okay? What'd you get on letter C? I did not get that. Negative 0.391. Yeah, you should get a negative 0.391. Did you isolate first? Get that 3 out of there. So e to the x plus 2 equals 5. And now you can take the natural log of both sides. And I'm going to move that x plus 2 out in front right away. Okay. Here's Lenny. Again, isn't it nice? Lenny shows up all over the place. You just get to ditch him. So it's x plus 2 times 1 is just x plus 2 equals the natural log of 5. And then you're going to take away 2. So really plug into your calculator natural log of 5 parenthesis minus 2. If you want to turn the natural log of 5 into a number, that's fine. This is 1.6094. And then you're taking 2 away from that. So you get x equals a negative 0.391. Okay. All right, last one. Letter B. What do you do first here? You got to isolate. So we subtract the 8. So you have a negative 3e to the x over 2 equals a negative 12. Then what? Divide. Divide by negative 3 on both sides. So e to the x over 2 power equals 4. Okay. Then what? Take the natural log of both sides. So it's the natural log of e, and I'm going to move the x over 2 out in front right away, equals the natural log of 4. If I can just warn you, the thing that I forget to do the most on these problems is I forget to put the natural log of both sides. Like I get distracted and I'm moving variables and I'm moving exponents, and then I forget, oh yeah, I got to put the natural log of 4 on the right side. So if you're struggling, that could be where the struggle lies. Just be careful with that. Look who I found again. Sweet little Lenny. So it's x over 2. This is just 1, so you can just ditch Lenny. So x divided by 2 equals the natural log of 4. So we're just going to multiply by 2 on both sides. Okay, now this you need to be careful with. If you're going to just plug it into your calculator, I would plug that in at the front, because if you plug in the natural log of 4 times 2 and you don't put a parenthesis in, your calculator is going to take the natural log of 8, which is not correct. If you're not comfortable with any of that, just type this in right off the bat. The natural log of 4, simplify that, is 1.3863. If you want to do it that way and then multiply by 2 to be safe, you can do that. But really, if you just type in the natural log of 4 and finish off your parenthesis and then multiply by 2 or put that 2 out in front, either way, you should still get 2.773. Questions on that? This stuff's fun, right? Do you love it? It's this button right 2 above on is LN.